Scuba Obsessed, the weekly podcast. We talk about all things scuba diving, from cool new gear to places to dive and scuba news. Scuba Obsessed episode 534 is recorded live May 19th, 2022. Welcome back to Scuba Obsessed. I'm Darren Gilson, coming to you from it's not Michigan. I think it's Missouri somewhere. In the road, in a motel. Someplace where there's not a whole lot of scuba diving going on. Joining me this week, we have Mac, the dive mentor. How you doing today, Mac?
I'm doing very well, and you're coming across here very good. So I like the bandwidth you're getting.
Well, good.
The picture even looks good.
Yeah, well, my picture never looks good. I just need to put somebody else in it. Yeah, the bandwidth here, some things are doing better, but my frame rates are way down, so I don't know what's going on. Maybe we've traded one good thing for another, but if my audio is a little bit different, I'm going to be boomy. I didn't bring the mic with me traveling, so this is just the laptop audio. We'll see if I edit this into an episode or not. So if we do, please bear with us. So yeah, traveling for work, not for pleasure. No scuba diving going on. Even though I did talk to one of my coworkers, and who lives on a lake, and was describing that he lives on considered to be one of the clearest lakes in Missouri. So maybe next time I need to bring my gear down here and drop in. I asked him what is in the lake. He said it's about a 200-acre lake, and it's got the prerequisite truck and plane in it. It seems like everybody who has a lake claims that there's a truck and a plane. I said, what, no train, no steam engine? That seems to be the other thing that everybody says a lake has.
Did he say what lake it was?
No, I'm sure I could figure it out in a map.
Well, how close are you to Bonne Terre?
Oh, I'm about the same distance from Bonne Terre as you, drive-wise, as you are from St. Joe. From this part of Missouri, it's about 7 hours.
Okay.
It's about 7 hours.
Well, how close are you to St. Louis?
About 7 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm on the way to Kansas City, almost Kansas City. If you take Missouri and look at it in the map, and you divide it in half, and then you take the top half and you put your finger right in the middle of the top half, that's where I'm at. You're not here unless, the funny thing is my son has come through here when he was working in Wichita, and he came back from California. He came through here and he goes, I saw one of your buildings on the way through. So our company name is on quite a few buildings around here. So, but it'd been 2 years. Before the pandemic was the last time I was down here. So, kind of nice.
It's been a couple of years.
It has.
At least two.
Yeah.
2 solid.
I only traveled once during the pandemic, and that was about a year into it. And I went to Wisconsin. We thought things would open up, and it didn't. So I'm flying. I have no points left on any travel reward points anymore. I haven't been in a plane probably in 3 years now.
They expire?
Oh yeah. They started doing that. The only ones that don't expire are the ones I probably like, my Hyatt or Hilton points. I don't think those expire, but all the other ones, if you're not adding to them in 6 months, and then they all, at the beginning of the pandemic, they go, oh, we'll give you another 6 months for your points to work. So they gave me 6 months a year and a half ago. So no, I don't have any points anymore, so they can see how loyal I am to any of them. Not at all. So let's go ahead, cue up the news. It's going to be a little tougher. I'm on just a laptop screen, flipping back and forth. So this first one, this one might not be in the show notes. I put the notes together, then I missed what Mac had sent me. So Scapa Flow Charters overturns court ruling following a diver's death. The Stromness-based diving business, Scapa Flow Charter, successfully overturned a judge's ruling following the death of a diver in 2012. Lex Warner from Sutton Coldfield died during a technical dive from the Jean Elaine in August 2012. Prior to the dive, Mr. Warner had fallen on board from what is suffered unrecognizable serious injury. This resulted in Mr. Warner experienced difficulties during the dive. He died whilst making a rapid ascent to the surface. Was this the one where he was on the deck and he slipped?
Yes. That's why I was so glad to see that overturned, because that is ridiculous.
Yeah, the original case was brought on behalf of Vincent Warner, who was only 9 months old when his father, Lex Warner, passed away. During initial court proceedings, court members heard that Mr. Warner, 50, from Sutton Coldfield, had fallen with full kit on while still on board the boat, despite being asked by skipper Andy Cuthbertson if he wanted to abandon the dive. Lex insisted that he was fine to enter the water. The judge, Lord Sanderson, said the skipper had not done enough to minimize the recognized risk of divers walking on deck in fins carrying heavy equipment. He said Mr. Warner had received an abdominal injury from the fall, despite being an experienced diver, made an emergency ascent in an anxious and ultimately panicked state from 80 meters. Lord Sanderson ruled that the safer practice had been in place. Mr. Warner would not have seriously hurt from the fall and resulting incidents, and therefore default to Scapa Flow Charters. The company is ordered to pay £290,000 compensation for the family. Now, senior judge in Scotland's highest court have overturned the initial ruling. They have concluded that it was the diver's responsibility to move safely across the deck, and that as experienced divers, this should have been obvious to Mr. Warner and his crew. They also added that fault or neglect from the boat owners is not established. And in this article, which this one's from the Scuba News, so that was nice to see that they picked it up.
I'm glad to see that got overturned, because it was more than a bit much.
Yeah, that was, because I remember when we covered it. Yeah, and it makes you wonder, how far back can they go? I mean, if you're going to say he did it, well, how about the one who trained him to dive in the first place? Yeah. Or, I mean, it never ends.
Well, it's like the lawsuit. I've been trying to track it. Remember the young lady who died with the dry suit injury? Did not have a inflator on her dry suit. And that lawsuit, well, obviously they tried to sue Patty. Patty definitely has the verbiage in their contracts that got them out of it, because a dive shop is not run by Patty. Dive shop's run by itself. The aspect about, well, it's the divers training by Patty, well, that's not it either, because if I train you and I get licensed in Michigan and I drive my car and do something really stupid and kill people, is the state of Michigan at fault or am I at fault?
Right.
Because they licensed me. So some of the logic on some of these cases escape me.
Well, I mean, we can talk about, attorneys as ambulance chasers, but it comes down to risk reward. That's what they're doing. Yeah. They look at it and they say, because in many cases, the attorneys are doing it in hope that there's a big payout, because they're probably not going to get much money, if any, from the victims or the alleged victims.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's this next one. Breaking news. This one is from Scuba Diver Life. What's that boat's name? SOCORRO, Vortex runs aground. Breaking news, a luxury liveaboard had run aground in their remote archipelago with no loss of life. The ship, however, is not so lucky. Apparently a total loss, along with most of the passengers' belongings and gear. According to reports, the vessel ran aground around 2 a.m. on May 9th, and the crew immediately radioed for assistance. Mexican Navy found 14 passengers, 11 crew members in the life raft, some having sustained minor injuries. All were transported for medical evacuation, and then onwards to, was it San Jose del Cabo? As most details emerge, we will update this breaking story.
That's a pretty fancy boat.
Yeah, that's not one you want to see a total loss on.
I think that was a Coast Guard boat originally and redone. I'm just curious. They never said why it ran aground. Like, was it an anchor and then broke anchor and drifted in?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that is a pretty sizable vessel then.
And again, I'm looking at it and the distance to shore, it's like, put your BC on and hop over and go to shore.
Yeah, what it, look at that black there. I mean, is that a fairly?
It looks like a forest.
Oh, is that what that is? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, it looks like trees and whatever.
Oh, to me, it was almost looking like volcanic rock or something. Like, be a little abrasive. And then here's some. See, I haven't. Make sure I got that muted. They had a video in there. Oh, it's a commercial. Never mind. We don't need the commercial. I don't know. Did this happen that much before, where there would be dive boats having problems, or is it just the news has picked up on it and said, "Hey, people like to look at disaster of dive boats"?
I'm not sure because there was another boat on fire last week we covered.
Yeah.
They've been 2 in Malaysia, I believe it was, that lost 4 divers. They were in. The boat moved, 4 guys in the water. A couple of them drowned because they were there 2.5 days.
Wow, 2.5 days?
Yes. The guy failed to call in and say, "Oh, by the way, we're missing people," and moved his boat.
Oops.
And then there's a group, and I think it's in Malaysia or the Asian scene. Many of the dive companies are asking for the government to step in and enforce better regulation of diving and divers, meaning the trainees, because they seem to be having a slew of fatalities. I don't know if I'd ever want to get the government involved, but obviously something.
Well, the challenge is to say you're a well-run operation and you've got 3 boats and you've got millions of dollars in it, but all people see is that the particular country you're based out of, every 2 weeks there's a boat going down or a diver dying. It's hurting your investment. So that's a case of where you're anticipating that the regulations are going to go in your favor, and it could make it safer or help reduce negative publicity. So I could understand that.
Now, I'll just stick to the Great Lakes and my inland lakes, and I don't have to worry about that.
Well, yeah, because we never have boats tip over in Lake Michigan.
Well, I've not heard of any dive boats tipping over.
No.
And people, well, okay, I do know one lately, but that's a different issue.
Yeah.
And they weren't diving until after the boat tipped over.
Yeah. Whether you want to dive or not, you may be after the boat.
You're going at
the boat goes. So this one, some travel diver, British holidaymaker, is fuming after having to abandon his holiday to Malta to fly back to the UK to pick up his missing luggage. Keen scuba divers Kevin Openshaw and David Eyre had booked a 2-week diving holiday in Malta through EasyJet. We're looking forward to spending a week diving off Malta's shoreline, exploring some deeper wrecks from the Second World War. But when they arrived in Malta on Sunday, May 8th, they discovered that one of their bags contained a vital piece of diving equipment. A rebreather was missing. They reported the missing luggage to the airport security staff, who soon discovered it was held at Manchester Airport, and the bag was believed to contain a dive cylinder and nothing else. With airport staff refusing to send the bag to Kevin and David, Kevin felt forced to fly back to the UK midway through his holiday to claim the equipment. Missing bag contained 6,000-pound rebreather only with no cylinders or compressed air vessels, as he had already paid an additional 180 pounds for sport luggage allowance to transport it. Kevin from Gateshead to Northeast explained, I had to go back and get it because the second part of the holiday cost 1,000 pounds, and I didn't have my unit. That part of the holiday wouldn't have happened. David also from Gateshead added, we didn't have the case was missing, but we didn't know that the case was missing until we got to Malta Airport, and it wasn't on the carousel. At that point, we had no communication from anybody saying, we haven't been able to send your bags. The only way we found out was Malta security people who had to email EasyJet because even they didn't have a number for them.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
I mean, if you're paying extra money, somebody's got to have documentation.
Yeah, they got an email within an hour. We got a phone call from people at the Malta airport when we arrived. The hotel said in Manchester, and they're not going to send it, and that was it. There was no other discussion or options. We even said we'd pay whatever it was to get it out to Malta because we needed it.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Then you had to fly all the way back to get the stuff.
Yeah.
That's an expensive freaking trip.
Yeah, and here they go on to explain what a rebreather is. So Kevin said when he collected his bag, he saw a note attached to it which said the bag contained a large diving cylinder and nothing else, and therefore could not travel. Manchester Airport said the safety is their biggest priority, displaying that security staff are unable to verify that a diving unit contained compressed air unless they inspect it, so passengers are required to declare it at check-in and show the canister is empty. Voila, it's empty. They claim that at least 2 call-outs were made for Kevin and David to return to the security area, discuss the luggage had not been declared, but the men said they did not hear any being made. To claim the luggage, Kevin flew back to Manchester via Munich, slept in his car at Manchester Airport before flying back to Malta via Brussels the following day. In total, he lost 4 days of his holiday due to traveling exhaustion when he got back to Malta. Yeah, and there he shows a picture of that rebreather. Typical rebreather, I would say.
What kind of diving was that important that you couldn't rent gear where he was at?
Yeah, he says, I'm very disappointed because this all could have been sorted out Monday morning at Manchester Airport if they had said over the canny, can Kevin Oppenshire or David Ayer go to security? We could have sorted it out and caught a flight Monday morning. Instead, I lost 4 days of my holidays because of the time back to Malta on Wednesday night. I was in no fit state to go diving on Thursday because of the amount of traveling I did. Ayer said Kevin had no issues flying back to Malta with the rebreather after he claimed it at Manchester Airport and said they had not heard of anyone who had to declare that they were traveling with a rebreather. During the trip, Kevin and David explored whether it would be possible to hire the equipment in Malta, but found that the cost is too high. We asked around to see whether Kevin could hire a rebreather, but it's $6,000 for a secondhand one and up to $14,000 for a new one. So obviously no one really wants to hire us a unit because if anything goes wrong, it becomes an expensive fix. We looked at the option of hiring normal tanks and cylinders, but then it would end up with using helium for the deeper dives, which would work out to be far more expensive to use gases rather than a rebreather, which we use less gas by recycling it. The spokesperson for Manchester Airport said our hold baggage security team identified the unit within the passenger's bag, which had not been declared a check-in. It was not immediately possible to verify the unit did not contain compressed air, which has a potential endanger the aircraft, so the bag was not cleared for loading. At least 2 announcements were made requesting the passenger return to the security check-in area, but did not do so. We are satisfied that all processes were followed correctly. In this case, reasonable attempts were made to contact the passenger after the bag was held. Passenger safety has always been an overriding priority. Spokesperson for EasyJet added, the safety of our customers and crews is the highest priority. In line with security procedures, we have customers ahead of their flight to ensure they do not carry certain restricted items and declare luggage when they're checking in their bags. As Mr. Oppenshire did not declare his diving equipment to be able to confirm with his safety for his carriage. His bag had to be held by airport security staff to understand the attempts were made by the airport to reach. Yeah, this sounds like, I mean,
Sounds like a CYA on the part of the
yes,
airport.
yes. It's like, because nobody's going to remember. You know, when they're, the more sure they are that when they followed the procedure, the less likely I am to believe it.
How come they just turn the valve on the tank and say, "Oh, it's empty"?
Yeah. So just something to be aware of, you know, when you're traveling.
They had some coin to be able to do that, or he had one hell of a trip planned.
No, I mean rebreather. You know, you've already got an investment, so once you got that, you're looking for diving opportunities that kind of almost necessitate using the rebreather. So
you got the funds. If you got the money, you can do that.
Yeah. Well, Karen's in the chat room. Oh, and she's talking about, yeah, she got back from Cozumel. Our earlier article, she says that's when she got a Nautilus and had it on me when my dives down south. So she's referring to as one of those, kind of like an E-perp almost, isn't it, Matt? Where you've got the, if you go in the water.
Say that again, though.
Karen had the Nautilus. You know, we had the divers who got left abandoned. You were talking in the previous article. Isn't that little computer? Not computer, but
emergency locator beacon.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it is, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So, but then, kind of based on that last article, Karen was mentioning yesterday that we had talked, if it wasn't last week but a week before, on traveling, and she said traveling with scuba gear, she splurged on business class tickets for the flight to Cozumel, and the baggage allowance was 2 bags, a maximum of 70 pounds. Coming back, her gear weighed 64 pounds. She says if you can afford it, business class is wonderful. Well, we got to declare you got tanks, which I imagine she running tanks down there.
I wonder if she saw Mary Beth while she was down there, because Mary Beth flew down.
Oh, to Cozumel?
She was going to try to hook up.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure where she went. I know she went out with a girlfriend, and she mentioned Karen was there, and she was going to try to hook up with her.
Yeah, that's always fun when you're a ways away and you can meet somebody from back home. So this next article reported from the Los Angeles Times. Group decided to clean Lake Tahoe. They moved more than 25,000 pounds of submerged trash. I don't think that was in one day.
Now, remember we talked about this a couple of months ago.
Yeah, and
how much money they had allocated to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said a team of scuba divers this week collected more than 25,000 pounds of trash. Colin West started the ambitious project in May 2021. From a total of about 600 pounds of litter that he had pulled from the lake. West, 35, decided to dive deep and add to the total. Local residents who regularly participate in the beach cleanups founded a nonprofit called Clean Up the Lake and started a 72-mile scuba cleanup at Lake Tahoe. We navigated the entire circumference of the lake. Among the 25,281 pounds of submerged trash, he said, over 4,500 different aluminum cans, more than 280 different pairs of sunglasses, cell phones, and plastic bottles. Among unexpected items, it looked like engagement rings, a 1980s Nikon film camera, entire lampposts, no littering signs, pieces of broken down boats and engine blocks. They are the heavier pieces of trash that we need to go back for, said West, with more than 400 larger items a team found and marked. Lake Tahoe is a scenic mountain lake along the border of Colorado, or not Colorado, California and Nevada. Large freshwater lake is a renowned picnic spot due to the beaches and ski resorts. Nearly 2 million years old, it is among the 20 oldest lakes in the world, reportedly receiving nearly 15 million visitors annually. Majority of the litter will be pulled out simply from us humans beings having a presence. There's construction debris, there are beer cans and sunglasses and hats that fly off boats. This is intentional litter, of course, but a majority of it is accidental. They're all part of the problem. The cleanup took a team of 136 volunteers, guided by 6 staff members. We did 3 days per week, and 2 to 3 hours underwater in each of those days. But in order for those 2 to 3 hours a day underwater, there's a lot of work on the surface. Weather, Wes said, is the biggest challenge. On the last day of the project, Wes said it was a sunny day and we dove in, but walked out in the middle of a snowstorm. Yeah. It's hard to make any kind of set plan. We had to monitor wind, smoke, snow, lightning, among other things. Their safety protocols for each one of them in place. Our director of operations has become a weatherman. Look how clear that water is right there.
Did they say how deep they dove?
They may have, maybe it was in another article. It said, though the trash would indicate otherwise, the shore Lake Tahoe, 22 miles long, 12 miles wide, is closely monitored. The Times reported that federal, state, and local governments have spent $2 billion over the last 6 decades buying land and develop erosion control and wetland restoration projects. Turning up this stuff, the world famous, nearly pristine mountain lake may move people to take action. 2 years later, the lake cleanup did it. West, we worked as a filmmaker for a decade, making commercials and documentaries for the wine industry. Want to do more meaningful work. I really want to do something to make a difference and help the environment. For that, he needed funding. West said the local company Tahoe Blue Vodka donated $100,000, and the organization received other grants and help from the community. Now look at some of those bigger.
$100,000 is a nice little bunch.
Yeah.
Now that's, well, you got, look like steel rims and stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like rims. There's concrete blocks.
Did they leave the concrete blocks down or just sprawled up the steel?
Well, they said they marked a bunch of stuff because it what's left, and I wonder if that's in the weight. Are they calculating this weight in their totals, even though they haven't brought it up? Yeah, those look like rims from a dually, like a dual pickup.
I wouldn't think they'd count the weight. If you didn't bring it up,
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
Yeah, this is a problem playing out all over the country. Every bit of trash creates a problem for marine life. We were planning a similar cleanup of Fallen Leaf Lake located within the Tahoe Basin. We'll set up monitoring system at 20 hotspots in Lake Tahoe and Donner Lake. You're only getting started. But that is by far, if that was just one event, that's one of the largest amounts of.
Yeah, but how long did it last? It wasn't a 5-hour day.
Yeah, they said it was several days.
Well, if they went and did 79 miles, that definitely was several days.
Yeah. There was one of the articles I read on this. They had a specific depth that they were going down to. So like they were doing a ring around the lake. I'm not seeing it right now.
Well, the reason I was saying that, you know as well as I do, you're going to go deep or you're going to go past 30 feet, your deco times mount up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's what you almost need to do exploratory. I mean, yeah, if you're down there and you see a can, you pick it up, but you really have to plan your time with that depth. And then what you could do is you could mark it somehow and then come back.
Yeah. Or troll for it.
Yeah.
That still would have been pretty cool to dive there.
I would say so.
We could go there. That'd be fun.
Yeah, yeah. I do some cleanup for them.
We were talking about ecology dives at the club meeting on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
It's
I know there's some interest, but it's just got to get the momentum to do it. It takes that logistics and the planning to make it happen.
Different location. Now there's a couple over Chicago way because they got a lot more boat traffic, and this is on the big lake where they had support for cranes and stuff.
Yeah.
That would be fun because it's not going to be really deep either because you're talking 30 feet of shore.
Right.
If you got something heavy like the refrigerators and stuff, you really want those cranes.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice to, and that's maybe something we need to look at next time we do an ecology dive, is to partner with other ecology-based groups. Because if you, like, say there was Friends of the River or something who doesn't have the diving resources like we do, but maybe they've got 50 volunteers who could work on the shore. We could get a lot more out.
Yeah, shoreline support is imperative. You can't do a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't come out. Well, you've done it before. Yeah. I have to get past my knees back up hauling a tire. I can't do a lot of it.
Yeah.
If I got shore support that can put a grappling hook or come in that 4 feet without gear and drag it in, it made a big difference for us.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can get a lot more out. And we've had pretty good shore support, but it's usually been our own members who are doing the shore support. So maybe we need to partner with some other groups and see if we can get some of this going. So was there any determination on date?
No, we were trying to figure out who was going to support the either Thankful Tuesday or Thirsty Thursday dive. Not the conflict with the SAS group on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Because Kevin and them, they sponsored a lot last year. I did a couple of fill-ins. So I'm going to do at least 3. I'm going to do 2 at Paw Paw, 1 at Niles. And hopefully we'll have some other people step up to the plate. But we're not, some of the guys like me are not getting younger.
No.
It was a little hard for us.
Well, here's a little bit different recovery. Retired Las Vegas officer offers reward for divers who find additional bodies in Lake Mead. Boaters recently discovered human remains in a barrel that was submerged for decades. Discovered human remains in a barrel apparently been submerged for decades. Now, 2 retired Las Vegas police officers offer an award for divers who find additional bodies in the recreational lake. Oh, crap, Mac.
I'm not really keen on going down, opening about 50-gallon drums just to see what's inside of them.
You can't believe what I just did.
I don't know what you just said.
I didn't have it recording.
Oh, well.
We'll call this a dry run.
It's a little late to start now.
No, I don't think we are. We'll continue this out, and then maybe we'll do a replay next week.
Well, we might as well just skip to the jokes.
Okay, you ready for the jokes? We'll just dump.
All we got is what, Karen?
Yeah, Karen's in there. Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, well, that's what I get. I'm not used to traveling with just my laptop.
Well, you figure now, though, we're primed for next week.
Yeah.
And we've already got our topic, so we're good. Yeah. We don't even need to do a joke.
Well, I say I'm not recording. YouTube's recording. So it is on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we finish it off. That's, yeah, man, I don't know. Oh. So, yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, you say you like this, the quality was better, so we'll see how YouTube did. Ugh. Yeah, it's okay. I hate it when I do that. Well, let's get back to this. So the problem solver is offering the challenge in an effort to bring a sense of closure to families and friends of the victims, to assist law enforcement in their efforts Boaters discovered the barrel containing. Let me see. I've got the wrong. Oh no, I got the right one there. Boaters discovered the barrel containing human remains about 3 p.m. Sunday near Hemingway Harbor. Based on contents of the barrel, investigators believe the body was dumped in the lake in the 80s. Second barrel is located by a local news outlet, but it was empty. Men are setting up a fund to pay out money to divers, according to news outlet. What's that, Mac?
I was going to say, was it floating for somebody to find it?
No, they said they could see it from the boat.
So the water level must have gone down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's way down. Let me see if you can kind of...
Is that mead?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's got it. I gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So... detectives are reaching out to scientists at UNLV to give them a better idea how long the oil container was submerged. They're working to identify the remains, and the investigation proceeds. It can be submitted by calling Crime Stoppers. Yeah. This is pretty consistent with the other articles I'd found, but I had heard on other media outlets them saying, oh, they were finding all sorts of bodies. And so far I can only see that they've verified one. So I think they're assuming that there were more. And the Sorcerer's Cave, I thought you might like this one, Mac, is the deepest and longest cave in Texas. The bottom of the cave is about 10 feet wide. Named the Saron is a tribute to the J.R.R. Tolkien Middle-earth river of the same name. The Surian? I can never pronounce any of Tolkien's names. The Sorcerer's Cave is the deepest cave in Texas. It's 567 feet to the bottom. Or as I like to say in Texan, damn near 2 football fields deep. The first part of the cave goes down quickly. Cavers have negotiated a series of steep, dramatic drops totaling 500 feet or 50 stories. At the bottom, the river appears about 10 feet wide with a strong flow. It is named after the Tolkien River. The river flows a long way through the cave system. It descends 70 feet or more, passes over 2 short waterfalls before it disappears beneath a cavern wall. The upper part of the river has been explored by divers in wetsuits and scuba gear. One such diver, Dr. Jean Creature, nicknamed Creature because she's a biologist and her name sounds a little bit like Creature, told me that she followed the river upstream through its narrow passage a good ways, but not reached the end. It's astonishing to me that there are fearless people like this who put on a wetsuit hundreds of feet underground to pursue rivers through dark, constricted passages just to see where it might lead. Scientists at work.
I do it for the treasure.
Yeah. Yeah. Discovered in
The scientists can come in and take over, but I think it's the adventure and what might you find that nobody else has seen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look how deep it is. It was found in 1979, rappelling down a deep shaft, hollered with delight to his friends from above as he realized he had set the depth record for caves in Texas, a record that remains intact today. Since then, has been one of the primary mappers of the cave. He is gracious enough to send me a map of the cave, which demonstrates its high point that the cave has a theme. Naming its features continue to inspire that theme. The fantasy literature genre led to other names like Poltergeist Pit, Demon Drop, and Mormut's Chamber. Ghostface bats really do exist there. Even another cave in the general vicinity sticks to the theme called Wizard's Well. They said the challenge of Sorcerer's Cave has got to be minor league because he spent 45 years exploring and mapping the deepest cave in the hemisphere, which is Huria and Oaxaca, Mexico. I'm not even remotely getting these names right. 10 times deeper than the Sorcerer's Cave at 5,118 feet.
It's places I'm never ever going to go,
Yeah.
and I don't really miss not going.
Yeah. Well, see, Mac, you could take your parachute. You
Yeah.
could fall into the cavern.
Okay, that's been done.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like a base jump, and then when you get down there, then you dive at the bottom.
Yeah, but not down to the 500 feet.
Yeah. Well, I thought you'd like that little cave there. There's some drawing.
I would like to do some shallow water caving,
Mhm.
but you ain't going to get me down no 500 feet.
Well, I'm not going to be the one finding and exploring that the first time. Let's see. Karen's probably been yelling at us for something. Let's see. Yeah, back on the Nautilus, she says, push a button that sends a distress signal to nearby boats. She said she had no tanks, bag fees, and such. End up costing nearly as much as business class tickets anyway. See, I agree. I mean, sometimes it makes sense to upgrade. Got to look at that total investment. She said she never heard from Mary Beth. They would have been fun to meet up. They could have shared some of our fish catch. Yeah, I saw that in Facebook. She shared some of the fish, some excellent fishing.
We still haven't got anybody to send us some frozen lionfish so we can try it out.
Oh, yeah, lionfish. Yeah, we need some of that. And then she said one of the guys at the Metal Detector Club meeting tonight really thinks that Sunset Beach and Pawpaw Lake's East End would be a great place to go hunting around that pier.
And I have several times. I did pretty good there before. If you do it, you'll find some nice stuff. I mean, I found a crack pipe with a blowtorch looking lighter that somebody must have tossed in. I got my best buck knife from that same spot. But right around it, you've got a lot of kids always diving, and it's very weedy.
It's kind of interesting how you started with a crack pipe.
That's what it was. Somebody must have walked up and scared them, and they dumped it in.
Or you're trying to ditch it so they're not caught with it. What are you doing? The water's a good place to ditch things. You don't want people to catch you with.
Yeah. If you don't discriminate, you're going to pick up a lot of iron there. Nails and all sorts of weird crap.
Yeah. To me, if it doesn't belong there, you pull it out. That way we don't find it again later on. I tried to do that with glass, but at some point you just kind of like, That's why we need the ecology dogs. Always find some good stuff for an ecology dog. So is there anything else we want to cover before we get on out of here?
No, not today. Supposed to be what, 81 tomorrow and 64 Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
That's Michigan for you. Probably snow on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Karen said she had some.
I got to get you in the water, and I got to get your T-shirts to you one of these days.
Yeah, we got to do that. She said she had some lionfish, pizza. Oh, lionfish ceviche. There you go.
And you saw, by the way, the articles on Ed, right?
No.
You don't know Ed passed away?
Yeah, you mentioned that last week.
So you saw the articles we put on
him. No, I didn't.
Oh, we posted them on the club site.
Okay. That means I got to go to the club site. Where's that again?
All the officers, I think, went to the visitation aspect anyway.
I'm still trying to figure out how I get time. I feel like I have less time than I ever had before.
Well, the kids are out of the house. You get rid of the robotics, you should be able to do pretty good.
Yeah. Good. Guess that's my signal. So you're ready?
Well, hopefully next week we'll have another video that's as good as this one.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to do some tweaking, see what I can come up with. So I got two of them. I think either one could be enough, but I just have a backup. So since I'm traveling, my wife and I were traveling cross country. We stopped in a tiny town for a night. There was only one motel. I walked in the office and asked the clerk, how much for one night? He answered, $160. $160, I shouted. Don't you have anything cheaper? Sure, he said. I can get your room for half price if you don't mind making your own bed. I agreed and said that was fine. So they put us in a room with a pile of lumber, a hammer, and some nails.
Uh, well, if we'd have been divers, we could just stop on the floor. We just need a roof to keep out the rain.
Right. Yeah. Well, divers, they wouldn't have let us in anyway.
That's true. I've been on a couple of trips where we've taken the mattress off, so a guy sleep on the floor on the mattress, the other one do the whatever the mattress was on. Yeah, we've done that a few times.
Yeah, I hear stories of the divers and all the wet gear and.
Well, we put the bed back together. Simi made it,
Mm-hmm.
But the hardest part, though, is how do you get 8 wetsuits in the bathroom to dry out overnight?
To dry.
Doesn't happen.
No.
Doesn't happen.
So here, a woman goes to the pharmacy and asks for cyanide. The pharmacist looked stunned and couldn't believe she'd asked for, but he was still curious. Why would you want to get some cyanide? The woman replied, my husband's been having an affair and I want to poison him. The pharmacist tried to reason with the woman. I can't do that for you. I'd lose my license. And you and I go to prison for this. The woman reached into her purse and pulled out a picture of her husband and a woman going into a motel. On closer inspection, the woman in the picture was the pharmacist's wife. The pharmacist looks at the woman and says, why didn't you just say you had a prescription?
That's good. That's a good.
So you gotta know how to say it.
You just gotta have the right perspective.
Yeah. So on that note, go out there and get wet.
Think safe, dive safe, stay safe. Stay out of caves at 500 feet.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a lot deep. It's about a 1 minute delay to the stream. So hopefully that was good because I can splice them together. Oh. I like traveling and I hate traveling.
Is it hard, the work you got to do when you're down there, or what?
Well, the problem is it's hard because I still have to do everything I do back at home. Like I got my review, because my boss is down here. So sometimes, normally he comes up and gives it to me up here, but we had a vendor who was coming into town. So I think he was trying to avoid me. He was hoping that he could get higher up. I think he was hoping he'd get higher up the food chain. So he'll probably be a little disappointed to see me show up. Like, I don't work for my vendors. I work for my employer. So some vendors have a hard time with that.
Hey, that's where it is.
It's a partnership, but we got to make money. It's got to be mutually beneficial to both parties. But, I mean, it's tough. Like I'm on my laptop with just one screen, and I'm a screen addict. So it's good. You get to connect with people. I mean, I've got new people we've added to our team that I hadn't met yet, so I got to meet them.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I do this trip 3 or 4 times a year, and it's been 2 years for this. Well, I've been back here, so it's overdue. But when they first bought us, I kept trying to figure out how I could get some scuba diving in down here, and it just There's just no whole lot. You drive by
Not where
the
you're at.
no, the river diving is like there's a lot like little tiny. They did have flooding here. Was it 2 years ago in the spring? It was over the highway.
Oh.
So that's a lot of water.
Yeah, the river down there is dirty.
I did cross the Mississippi. So right there at Hannibal.
Well, I will let you be. You have a good evening and finish a good trip there at work. And we'll catch you next week, sir.
Yep. We'll catch you later.